Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to talk about our exciting series History of World Cricket Part 2. If you missed the Part 1 video I will give that video link in card. Please check friends and subscribe my channel for more cricket informations. Let's start the video. 18th century cricket, patronage and players. Gambling introduced the first patrons because some of the gamblers decided to strengthen their bets by forming their own teams, and it is believed the first county teams were formed in the aftermath of the Restoration in 1660, especially as members of the nobility were employing local experts from village cricket as the earliest professionals. The first known game in which the teams use county names is in 1709, but there can be little doubt that these sort of fixtures were being arranged long before that. The match in 1697 was probably Sussex versus another county. The most notable of the early patrons were a group of aristocrats and businessmen who were active from about 1725, which is the time that press coverage became more regular, perhaps as a result of the patrons' influence. These men included the second Duke of Richmond, Sir William Gage, Brodrick and Edwin Stead. For the first time, the press mentions individual players like Thomas Waymark. Cricket expands beyond England. Cricket was introduced to North America via the English colonies in the 17th century, probably before it had even reached the north of England. In the 18th century it arrived in other parts of the globe. It was introduced to the West Indies by colonists and to the Indian subcontinent by East India Company mariners in the first half of the century. It arrived in Australia almost as soon as colonization began in 1788. New Zealand and South Africa followed in the early years of the 19th century. Cricket never caught on in Canada, despite efforts by the upper class to promote the game as a way of identifying with the mother country. Canada, unlike Australia and the West Indies, witnessed a continual decline in the popularity of the game during 1860 to 1960. Linked in the public consciousness to an upper-class sport, the game never became popular with the general public. In the summer season it had to compete with baseball. During the First World War, Canadian units stationed in France played baseball instead of cricket. Development of the laws. It's not clear when the basic rules of cricket such as bat and ball, the wicket, pitch dimensions, overs, how out, etc. were originally formulated. In 1728, the Duke of Richmond and Brodrick drew up articles of agreement to determine the code of practice in a particular game, and this became a common feature, especially around payment of stake money and distributing the winnings given the importance of gambling. In 1744, the laws of cricket were codified for the first time and then amended in 1774, when innovations such as LBW, middle stump and maximum bat width were added. These laws stated that the principals shall choose from amongst the gentlemen present 2 umpires who shall absolutely decide all disputes. The codes were drawn up by the so-called Star and Garter Club, whose members ultimately founded the Marylebone Cricket Club at Lord's in 1787. The MCC immediately became the custodian of the laws and has made periodic revisions and recodifications subsequently. Continued growth in England. The game continued to spread throughout England, and, in 1751, Yorkshire is first mentioned as a venue. 18. The original form of bowling, that is, rolling the ball along the ground as in bowls, was superseded sometime after 1760 when bowlers began to pitch the ball and study variations in line, length and pace. Scorecards began to be kept on a regular basis from 1772. Since then, an increasingly clear picture has emerged of the sport's development. The first famous clubs were London and Dartford in the early 18th century. London played its matches on the Artillery Ground, which still exists. Others followed, particularly Slindon in Sussex, which was backed by the Duke of Richmond and featured the star player Richard Newland. There were other prominent clubs at Maidenhead, Hornchurch, Maidstone, Sevenoaks, Bromley, Addington, Hadlow and Chertsey. But far and away the most famous of the early clubs was Hambledon in Hampshire. It started as a parish organization that first achieved prominence in 1756. The club itself was founded in the 1760s and was well patronized to the extent that it was the focal point of the game for about 30 years until the formation of MCC and the opening of Lord's Cricket Ground in 1787. Hambledon produced several outstanding players including the master batsman John Small and the first great fast bowler Thomas Brett. Their most notable opponent was the Chertsey and Surrey bowler Edward "Lumpy" Stevens, who was believed to have been the main proponent of the flighted delivery. It was in answer to the flighted, or pitched, delivery that the straight bat was introduced. The old hockey stick style of bat was only really effective against the ball being grundled or skimmed along the ground. First-class cricket began in 1772. 9 surviving scorecards exist of 1772 matches organized by the Hambledon Club which commence a continuous statistical record. Those 3 matches were all between a Hampshire 11 and an England 11. The first played as Brodrick Down on 24 and 25 of June. The 2 leading online archives begin their first-class coverage with this match which is numbered First Class Number 1 by Info and F1 by Cricket Archive. Brodrick Down continued in regular use by Hambledon, Hampshire teams until 1781. Thank you viewers. Stop this part. If you like this video please give your support to me, subscribe, like and share the video. I will continue this series in part 3. Be safe, be happy.